Thank you for joining me. Greyboard Gamer here with the first turn of my playthrough of Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game by Fantasy Flight Games. If you didn't join me for the setup, that's okay. It's just a brief, quick overview of how the game gets set up. I didn't go into depth on any of the rules or how the gameplay works. I'm going to do that all during the gameplay of this video. Our Waywatcher will be the first player to act, and each of these characters gets to go twice during a turn because this is the card you use for a two-player game, and then the heroes get to activate twice during each hero phase, and she begins the game with 21 health. And our other character, the Ironbreaker, begins the game with 26 health. We'll see what our first location is, and it's the Lost Dwarven Forge. Even after untold centuries, the forge still glows with heat. Tools lie at hand where their owners left them. At the end of the location phase, a hero may suffer one wound to claim one success token. Now, also, these skulls over here on the left of the card indicates that we're going to spawn 3 monsters that will be engaging our characters, and 1 is going to spawn face down into the shadows. And we need 9 exploration points in order to finish exploring the Lost Dwarven Forge and to be able to move on to our next location. We will spawn 3 monsters as indicated by the card, and they will go, the first one will go to the Waywatcher because she is the first player. Then to the Ironbreaker will be the next one, and then the third one will go back here to the Waywatcher. It goes back and forth like that. If there was 5 monsters, then she would have 3 and he would end up with 2. Our first monster going to the Waywatcher is a ghoul. It does 2 damage during an attack, and it has 2 health and 0 resilience. Resilience is defense against attacks, and it has to be an attack. A special effect, the resilience wouldn't protect him, but in this case, the ghoul does not have any resilience, and this disease would take effect if he is activated. We'll worry about that if the time comes, but he is assigned to her play area. The next creature is a giant bat. Does 1 damage, has 1 health with 0 resistance. And it will be assigned to the Ironbreaker. And our third spawning creature is an orc boy. Does 3 damage, has 3 health, and 1 resilience. So the orc boy will be assigned to the Waywatcher. And then we'll spawn 1 face down into the shadow area. Creatures that are in the shadow area are not directly engaging the characters at the time, but we'll see that some creatures can move back and forth between the shadow, and some continuously stay down here in our active engagement areas. Now we have to find a way to balance what we're going to do between exploring and getting this taken care of so we can move on to the next location, because we have to get to the last location and finish exploring it in order to win the game or win this quest and get the victory condition. The first thing I'm going to do with the Waywatcher is rest. They may seem kind of odd considering I don't have any wounds on me right now, but you'll see what the reason is here in just a moment. Watchful Sprites is the rest action, and you resolve these cards from top down. You may exhaust 1 non-nemesis enemy engaged with you, choose 1 enemy engaged with you, that enemy retreats, and then the rest action would roll 2 dice. So for my first action, I'm taking that rest, and I'll use these markers of mine, these don't come with the game, to show that that action has been exhausted. In the rulebook it tells you to turn them sideways to show that they've been used, but to save myself time and having to move cards around, I'll just put markers on them to show that they've been exhausted. Again, with the first action on there, I can exhaust one non-nemesis enemy engaged with me. So I will do that. I'm going to exhaust the Orc Boy, which means he won't be able to take actions until he is refreshed, and choose one enemy engaged with me. I'll choose the Ghoul. That enemy retreats, and by retreating he goes back to the shadow area. Therefore he's not directly engaged with me, which will keep me from getting diseased. And normally I would roll 2 dice to see if I had any successes with my rest action. I'm not going to do that since I have no wounds to heal. And that'll be all the actions that the Waywatcher can take. You can take 1 during your turn. She'll get a second turn this round, but now we'll move over to the Ironbreaker. For the Ironbreaker, I'm going to use his attack action. Inexorable Advance is the attack action for the Ironbreaker. He may engage up to 2 enemies, and he attacks by rolling 2 dice. Before this action, you may target up to 2 enemies. He's going to take his attack action, and it says that he may engage up to 2 enemies. He already has 1 in his engagement area. Now he's going to go ahead and pull this Orc Boy over by engaging him and placing him in his engagement area. And before this action, he can target up to 2 enemies. So he's going to target both of these enemies for his attack. And to do his attack, he rolls 2 of the white dice. And now for each enemy that's in your engagement area that is available, the Orc Boy is exhausted, but the Giant Bat is available. For each enemy in your engagement area, when you do any of your actions that require rolling dice, you will put one of these black dice in. So he's going to roll 2 for his attack, as directed by his attack card, and 1 of the enemy dice for the Giant Bat. We'll roll these attack dice and the 1 for the enemy. And that is an excellent roll for us. The enemy dice came up blank, so they will not get to damage me. And I scored 3 successes. That's what the X symbol stands for. That is a really great roll. So I scored 3 successes there. That's 3 successful attacks. That's 3 damage, and I can spread it any way I want amongst these 2 enemies that I targeted. I'm definitely going to do 1 to the Giant Bat, because the Giant Bat only has 1 health, and that will kill the bat. Put him in the discard pile. And next we have the Orc Boy, which I can give the remaining 2 damage to, but since it was a direct attack by me, and he has a resilience of 1, that 2 damage will only equal out to 1 damage. We'll put a wound on the Orc Boy, and that finishes the action of the Ironbreaker. Next, we'll come back over here to the Waywatcher for our second action, and I'll put this marker on there just to remind me that I'm on my second round of actions for our players. For my second action with the Waywatcher, I'm going to do Orion's Hunt, which is my Explore action. And I'll explore by rolling 2 dice. Then I'll draw and resolve 1 dungeon card, and then I may exhaust one non-nemesis enemy in the shadows. I will use Orion's Hunt, and the first thing I do is I explore by rolling 2 dice. I'm only going to roll 2 white dice because I don't have any creatures or monsters that are directly engaged in front of me that would require me to roll any of the black dice. So I'm hoping for as many successes as I can get. Well, not too bad. It came out to 2 successes. This one also has a shield symbol on it, which would help me defend against an attack, but there is no attack, so it doesn't have any meaning right now, but I still get the 2 successes. My 2 successful explore actions will give me these 2 tokens to place on the Dwarven Forge. So I have 2 successes on there now, and I need 9 total before I can move on to the next location. Next on Orion's Hunt, I draw and resolve 1 dungeon card, and that is Ritual Candles. Those are an item. You may discard this card after a hero's activation to add 1 progress to the location. That's nice. It's a nice little item. I'll put that down here in her inventory. And now characters can hold as many items as they want from the dungeon deck. But you might as well use them up, because at the end of the scenario on this quest card, any items you have from the dungeon deck get discarded. And finally, on Orion's Hunt, you may exhaust 1 non-nemesis enemy in the shadows. So there's these 2 enemies in the shadow. One I don't know what it is yet, and the other is a ghoul. I don't want that ghoul coming down here and causing disease. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to exhaust the ghoul that's in the shadows. That will take care of my action for the Waywatcher, and we'll move over to the Ironbreaker for his second action. I'm also going to explore with the Ironbreaker and use Into the Dark. That's his explore action. He's going to roll 2 dice to explore. Then he's going to draw 1 dungeon card, just like the Waywatcher had to, except he can either resolve that card or exhaust one of his actions to place it on the bottom of the dungeon deck. And that'll come in real handy, because dungeon deck can be good, like the item that I got with the ritual candles, but it can also be events and things that are detrimental to the characters. So first, we're going to roll 2 dice for his explore action. The Ironbreaker does have an orc boy in front of him, but the orc boy is exhausted, so he does not have to roll one of the black dice for that. And we got this symbol here, and I forget what it's called right this second, but it gives you 1 success, and you can use these tokens to keep track of it, and then you re-roll the die. And I got 2 successes plus the 1 equals 3. This symbol is known as a critical success, which gives you 1 success and allows you to re-roll the dice. So I got 3 successes with my explore action. Now we're up to 5 on the Lost Dwarven Forge. We're making good progress. And now his next part of Into the Dark, he's going to draw 1 dungeon card, and we'll see if it's a good or a bad one. Well, it can't be bad if it's Dwarven L. You may discard this card before or after a hero's activation for that hero to ready 1 action. Well, that's a good one. We're definitely going to keep or resolve that. Give that item to the dwarf, which means what I could do is discard that and then remove one of these exhausted markers that I'm using from a hero's action to ready it again. That will take care of both turns for our players, ending the hero phase, and now we have to head into the enemy phase. For the enemy phase, starting with the first active player here, they will activate creatures that are in their engagement zone that are not exhausted. She doesn't have any. So she'll look and see what we have up here. We have this ghoul that's exhausted, so she can't activate that, but she can reveal and activate a Night Goblin Archer. Well, these things are a pain because they can retreat and then inflict. So once they're activated, you carry out their actions by starting with the leftmost and working your way to the right. So for him, he would retreat to the shadows. He's already in the shadows, so he's just going to stay where he's at. And then he's going to inflict, which stinks because he does a damage of 3, and inflict damage is going to happen to either the player that they're engaged with or the active player. So she activated him, so the 3 wounds will go to the Waywatcher. Next, the Ironbreaker would activate the next available, and that exhausts him. He's done with his action. The next available would go the Ironbreaker. He has nothing available in his engagement area because the Orc Boy is exhausted, the Ghoul is exhausted, the Night Goblin Archer also exhausted, which means that's it. There's no more enemies available that would be able to be engaged. So we'll clear these markers off for the next round. And now we'll move into the location phase. Our Lost Dwarven Forge. At the end of the location phase, one hero may suffer 1 wound to claim a success token. Well, we have 5 on here already. And success tokens, if you can claim them, you can put them on your actions. You can never have more than 2 success tokens on the action, which we'll see that coming up when I use my 8 actions here soon. I don't want to suffer any wounds right now just to claim those. We're doing okay. We only have the 3 monsters out, so I'm going to leave it at that. And then we'll move to the peril phase and move our tracker along to the next spot. We have not reached the green yet, so no special action will occur. And that will cause the end of this turn, and the first player will now be the Ironbreaker.